Jim Shannon.
So, can I first of all congratulate you, Madam Deputy Speaker, in achieving the position and wish you well in that and your job now for the future. Can I also welcome the Shadow Secretary of State to his new post. Only 14 days in the job, but already finding your way with a very, perhaps what could be a very difficult portfolio. But again, to congratulate you as well. We're a bit disappointed that the Shadow Minister of State is unable to be with us. He's away on parliamentary duties, and obviously we'll miss his contribution. I think he would use the word erudite tones in the debate if he was here. Again, as a pity he's not here, we're disappointed. I recently attended the Irish Fest in Milwaukee, USA, where I highlighted the other side of the history, which many from Irish descent and many with Ulster descent had learned from the propaganda and often a slanted media view. Americans, and sometimes those from the mainland USA, watch films like The Devil's Own, which betray a degree of artistic licence, but which I fear greatly rewrites history. These and other stories make it seem like 302 Royal Ulster Constabulary George Cross men and women were not human beings with families and lives, but were simply moving legitimate target signs. Make it seem like 30 prison officers and 763 British Army Force members were simply numbers on a score sheet, and not people whose spouses and children still feel the devastating loss to this very day. Those histories and films would glibly portray a prison break as a great lark, and not take into account the lives that were destroyed by the loss of a father and a husband. One of them was my constituent, Mr Ferris. There were other people shot and other people injured as a result of that escape. And never portrayed a film in a scene where a busy fish shop is bombed with no warning on a busy Saturday, killing one terrorist and 9 people, including 2 children and injuring 57 other people. Neither is the unveiling of a plaque in memory of this terrorist depicted. Yet that is the legacy that we were dealing with in Northern Ireland today, as so ably laid out by my colleague from Lagan Valley in his presentation at the very beginning. This is history. It should not be written to glorify what was nothing more than acts of evil, because that's exactly what it is. When I watched the snippets of the Shankill bombing and saw one of the bombers on one hand apologising, but on the other hand stating that he was proud to be unveiling a plaque in memory of his fellow murderer, it certainly stirs up the feelings of anger and loss in communities who are determined that they cannot and should not let their heartbreaking histories be displayed in a light that would dull the horrific nature of what has taken place.
Thank the member giving way. How does he think people would feel if Unionists, or if anyone in the Unionist community, were to suggest that next week a commemoration was held to acknowledge and to celebrate what happened at Grey Steel when 8 people were slaughtered? Innocent people slaughtered. What would he feel if we decided there should be a band parade and celebration? What would that say about this community? And doesn't it say the very same about nationalists and Republicans whenever they decide to do that over the Shankill Road bombing?
I thank my honourable friend and colleague for that contribution. Yeah, that would annoy me no end, as it would annoy everybody in this chamber and everyone right across the whole of Northern Ireland. It does a disservice to every man, woman and child in Northern Ireland who has ever suffered loss in either side of the Troubles. That's exactly the point that my honourable friend has made. It does a service to those who are rehabilitated and living with the injuries causing the trouble. It does a service to those who work hard to see the past for what it was and still attempt to find a way forward. I must make it clear that I believe there is a way forward for Northern Ireland, because I am positive. I always try to be, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'd even go as far to say that I believe that we are at long last on the journey forward for Northern Ireland. But it's not an easy task. There are many bumps in the road, many hurts that must be whitewashed and that must be sensitively handled. Sometimes this happens, and a lot of the time, Madam Deputy Speaker, it doesn't. But make no mistake, there are tensions. These are stirred up in all communities by agendas which would not seek to move forward whilst ever remembering the past, but would seek to throw us into turmoil once again. Issues such as the removal of the Union flag from the City Hall is one such tension-stirring issue. There was no doubt of the strength of feeling that existed to retain the flag when flown. When I was at Irish Fest in the United States of America, I asked them how would they feel if at the Alamo they were asked to remove a flag. They would never do it, Madam Deputy Speaker, and yet the people of Belfast had this enforced in the name of progress. It's not progress, not now, and it can't be for the future. It's disrespect instead. Yet we are trying to engage with those on the ground to ensure that this does not derail the good that has been done thus so far. The Haas talks will, I hope, be positive. I would like to think that they may pave the way forward for another step forward, but I would also ask and say this: if the people continue to disrespect and to alter what has happened before that, This will not bring us forward, but will indeed will have us forever going over the same ground. And it's very important that we're all positive in our contribution, but there are those within the community who are not positive and who are holding back. I was delighted that our party today brought forward a motion that is only right and proper, that we address the attempts to rewrite what really happened. Winston Churchill, who I admire greatly and would be one of my childhood heroes, he once said, "History will be kind for me, because I intend to write it." The history of Northern Ireland is too fresh to undergo a rewrite, but we can never defend the indefensible and justify the unjustifiable. No matter if the tweet was sent by a twit or by some, I can think of other words, but I can't use them in this House, regarding a 30th anniversary, or no matter how many people gather to celebrate the lives of terrorists and murderers. When one looks at the faces of those family members who gathered at Castledown during that most despicable and wretched IRA period, would say that the history of that area is not written but etched upon the lines on the face and the breaks within the heart. The Protestant, along with the Roman Catholic members, because I was at that parade of that community in Castledown, had no wish to see the glorification of the atrocities committed in the community. They had no wish to listen to the words of IRA members or elected leaders and see them parading their streets in blatant disrespect. Yet they silently stood with the photographs of their murdered loved ones in dignified protest. 28 unsolved murders in Castledown. Only one person ever made amenable for that. And you can feel the anger and the pain that the people of Castledown felt at that time. One of them was my cousin Kenneth Smith, a sergeant in the Ulster Defence Regiment, murdered along with his Roman Catholic friend on the 10th of December 1970. Again, real pain, real sorrow and real frustration. When an elected representative should try to elevate two would-be killers to a position and have a parade and disregard totally the feelings of those who are only maybe 100 or maybe 150 yards away. We can move forward and we can find a way of making things work in Northern Ireland, but we cannot do so with events like this perpetually being thrown in the faces of victims. The real victims, not the perpetrators, have enough daily reminders, and it's essential that we feel the support from the community, and I believe we have, and the representatives from this place and from this House today in this debate that we're now having. I would ask that you would send the messages of support today, that you would stand with this, my party and with myself, against the artistic licence that is used too often to lessen the impact by using phrases like legitimate targets or collateral damage or a legitimate target. There is no such thing. There's no such thing in Castledown, there's no such thing in the Shankill Road, there's no such thing at Le Mans and outside in Castlereagh and Belfast. There's certainly no such thing at Ballydugan and Downpatrick, where the 4 Ulster Defence Regiment boys were murdered by the IRA as well, 3 of whom I knew personally. There were only evil people carrying out evil deeds for a cause which even those who think they represent don't want. Today, I stand for every true victim of the Trouble. And in conclusion, say this, Madam Deputy Speaker. Even as we attempt to move forward to a functioning society, your loss has not been erased. You were not irrelevant. Your family were not ignored and emotionally isolated. You are not now, and indeed you will never be forgotten. That is my promise and the promise of my party.
Yeah.